हाय एवरीवन, मेरा नाम हमजा है। मैं लंदन में पैदा हुआ था, लेकिन मैं 7 साल की उम्र में लाहौर शिफ्ट हो गया था और फिर मैं 15 साल की उम्र में वापस आ गया।
What is your story?
So I was born here, 1994, a millennial, shout out, and in Barking, East London. So yeah, and it was, I guess childhood was pretty uneventful. What I can remember was, yeah, growing up in East London, there was always like a Pakistani community. And my parents were, typical Pakistani parents. But my dad, obviously, he was working a lot of the time, so I didn't see much of him. And my mum, who also grew up in the UK, that was where I got most of my Pakistani knowledge from. And I guess you could say it wasn't very evident. I didn't really know who I was. I didn't know where I was from. I remember going to school and feeling like I was different. It was just primary school, so how much can you know around that time? But I knew obviously there's white people and then there's me. I remember getting bullied a little bit for being different or having a different name, like Humza. There was no other Pakistani in my school, which is weird for like a school. Or I guess, but no, there was no other Pakistani in my year. Let's say. I mean, I don't know. There must have been another Pakistani in my school, but yeah, I was different, right? And I guess in the 90s, early 2000s, differences weren't celebrated as much as they are now. So yeah, it was tough. But yeah, so I then moved to Pakistan when I was 7. So that decision, I guess, I don't know how serious of a decision that was for my parents, but my grandparents were ill, and my dad's parents, and who lived in Lahore. And my dad and my mum just thought it'd be a good idea to move the whole family back, get a bit of Pakistani culture in, maybe just learn a bit where we're from, and doing that, just like helping out and with my grandparents as well, taking care of them. That change was, yeah, the first massive change in my life. And I don't think I thought about it that much. My mom and my dad were like, yeah, we're moving to Pakistan. I knew I was Pakistani. I didn't know what that meant though at the time. I was like, okay, yeah, there's this country called Pakistan and we're going to move to it. And my mom used to, I guess she didn't try to scare me, but she was just warning me. She was like preparing me for the difference. I don't understood it. And I was like, how different could it be? It was like, for me, it was like moving to a different neighborhood. I was like, okay, whatever. And I remember she tried to make it as easy as possible. She was recording like shows that we used to watch, on Disney Channel and stuff. She was like, they're not going to be aired there, so we need to take them so you feel like not much has changed. So I remember that quite specifically. And honestly, those VCR tapes helped me so much. It was like when I was missing the UK, I was like, okay, I'll put one of those on. I'll watch like Recess or something.
Hey.
Like, oh, okay, I feel comfortable now. But yeah, moving there, it was a shock. And I just remember, I still have this amazing, like vivid memory of me from the airport. I guess I should kind of like give a bit of history as well. Like I had been to Pakistan once or twice before when I was like maybe 2, and then maybe when I was like 3 or 4. So it was like I couldn't remember. By the time I was 7, 8, I just couldn't remember. So leaving the airport, obviously leaving Lahore airport, it's in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's changed quite a lot now, but it was essentially in the middle of nowhere. And my family came pick me up, who didn't speak a lot of English. Especially my dad's side, we were the only ones who spoke English. So they, all just speak Urdu. And I could understand Urdu at that point, but I couldn't speak it fluently. I could say like ji, nahi, theek, but that's it. And if someone was speaking too fast, I'd be like, go over me. And I was known as like the white kid in my family, the burger. I don't know if you've heard that term, actually. It's a common term in Pakistan. I mean, I don't know if anymore, but whitewashed kids in Pakistan or people who come from the West would be known as burger, because a burger was seen as like a Western thing, right? So yeah, I heard that a lot when growing up. And I remember, so going back to my story, I was leaving the airport, we were driving on this like highway, and there's like, just, open spaces, and there was a donkey cart, and I was like, oh, donkey. And I was so excited about it. I was like, there's a donkey cart. And my family just, I guess innocently, but they just started laughing at it. Like my Pakistani family, they were like, oh, and I just felt so stupid at that time. They were like, oh, why are you getting excited about a donkey? And they started laughing. And I was like, damn, this feeling sucks. And that feeling, I remember that specific feeling of feeling like I can't express myself because I don't know how the people are going to react. And I come from a different place. So I can't be excited or upset or something and show my emotions because I'm from a different place and I experience things differently. So that, and I was 7 years old. And to think that at that time, I don't know. Now that I think about it, it just feels weird. But yeah, and going to school was bad. And they were nice kids, but yeah, like I used to gel up my hair, and that was like such a weird thing for people there. They're like, "Oh, have you got like electric shock or something?" And I was like, no, man, this is what everyone does. But yeah, and then so not only like saying things would make me sound different, just by the looks of me, I'm different. So I could not hide. I couldn't. I don't know how to blend in. I tried my best, but there's like little things that would just kind of like set me apart. I wouldn't understand something that the teacher would say because she'd say it even if it was in English. Seemed like a different language to me. So I was like, oh, I don't know what you mean. And there was a non-uniform day, and I didn't understand that. And that was the first day I actually showed up in uniform because I hadn't like purchased it before. And so I showed up in uniform when everyone else was in non-uniform. And as a kid, you can imagine that is like one of the worst things that can happen. And I'm like, oh, I'm different again. But yeah, and like the games that everyone played, I didn't understand it. I just didn't understand it. And it's like these Pakistani kind of like local games, like tag, but in a different way. And I'm like, oh, like tag. And then they're like, what the hell is tag? So, right? So yeah, it was tough. But I mean, I'm lucky enough that I found a group of people, like a group of my friends who are still my friends today. And like I'm really close to, I talk to all the time. And they really helped me through it. And so that's when I had like my first appreciation of like, there are people and these friends that you make in your life more than, I mean, I don't know, Pakistaniness is very like family is better than everyone else. But that's when I realized I was like, okay, no, I need friends as well to make me feel comfortable. My family can only do so much. So yeah, and there was a group of, I don't know, like 3, 4 of us and all who started that year and who'd moved back to Pakistan from the West. Yeah, so I got on with them a lot. There's one guy who had come from Sweden, one guy from Ireland, and there was like 2 others who were just really into American TV. So I felt like there was some connection. They knew the same shows I knew, like growing up on like Keenan and Kel and stuff. And I was like, okay, I can talk about this now. I don't feel different. So yeah, that was good. And so the next couple of years, I think I kind of like, started being a bit kind of like more comfortable with myself. And it was seen as like a cool thing to speak Urdu. So I kind of like tried to really focus on that. And like, I want to fit in. I want to be cool. But I don't know, maybe that wasn't the best thing, but at the time it worked. So yeah, by the time I was in my O-levels, GCSE equivalent, I felt comfortable. I mean, I was still seen as like the foreigner or the white kid, my accent was still kind of British, but it had Americanized a little bit because that's the accent that everyone speaks in these like English speaking schools in Pakistan. So yeah, I mean, I used to get into kind of like fights every now and then about it, but it was like, just normal school stuff. It felt like normal school stuff, which is great. Then that's when my parents broke it to me that like, yeah, we're gonna move back to the UK.
Just as you had started to adapt so well into Pakistan.
I was like, this is like when I was like 14, 15, and I was like, this is the time where like you're starting to enjoy your life as well. Like when you're teens, you're hanging out with your friends more, you're going out, there's stuff outside school that you're gonna get to explore. And my parents was like, yeah, we were gonna, my dad wasn't doing that great financially, and it just seemed like a good move because he was back and forth Pakistan and the UK because he was working here. So it was quite tough the last year. And the last year was the second year of my O-level. So O-level's 3 years compared to like GCSE, which is 2 years. So it just starts a year earlier. So I was just starting my second year of O-levels and my mum was like, yeah, so there's a few options. And I was talking to my teachers. They were like, you can either just restart your O-levels there or do all your exams a year early and, you'll start your A-levels in the UK. I was like, obviously, I don't want to repeat. So let me just try to do it. So that year when, I should have been making the most of it, I was like studying. I was going to school. Then a little break. Then I was going to these like tuition kind of academies to kind of like do up the stuff that I hadn't covered in the school yet. And that just seemed like my whole life. I mean, yeah, I had a bit of fun and stuff, would hang out. I had a good friend circle, the same group of friends. And their mums had like become my mum's mates as well. So it was a good kind of like community. But yeah, that last year was tough. But yeah, I managed to do it. We did it, and then at the end of the year, we moved back.
Wow.
Moved back here.
But before you just speak about moving back, could you tell me what were those fun moments? Like, what were those things you were doing, and like the fondest memories of that time in Pakistan?
Yeah, it was fun. It was like we were venturing out more. Like you could go out by yourself, and I had recently got a bike, not a motorbike, but just like a bicycle. But like and I was learning to drive then, so my mom was trusting me enough because my dad wasn't around. She was trusting me with the car a bit more as well, and because she's like, as a woman in Pakistan, it's tough to kind of like do things by herself. So she was like really pushing me to kind of go with her or go make runs to the bank or like dealing with people. And I do feel like it might have been like a bit too soon for me, but I was doing what I was gonna do. So like I was taking the car out to see my friends, and I was like, you start learning like where things are and stuff, and it was just so much fun. It just felt like the independence that I felt. It was great. I'd pick up my friends and we'd go out, and it was culture in Pakistan that I don't know if you've experienced. We'll talk about when you went to Pakistan as well, but there's always a motive. It's just in London, it just feels like it's a lot of work to do stuff and like go in places. You need to, if you're driving, how are you going to drive? How are you the train, last train, whatever. But in Pakistan, in Lahore anyway, where I grew up, it was just, you take the car, you can do anything, you go anywhere, any time of day or night. There's no restrictions, and these kind of hold you back here quite a bit. But yeah, we were like, going out late nights. I remember having paratha rolls. I don't know, you had them. They're just so good. And it was just like a culture, we'd all go, and it was Lahore H Block was like the commercial area and where these amazing paratha rolls were sold. And we'd like stay out till like the early hours of the morning, sit on our car and just kind of like eat paratha rolls and just chill. It was so good. It just felt so, it was just like bliss, man. It was, you weren't thinking about anything else. I wasn't thinking about school. I wasn't thinking about moving back. I was just like enjoying my time with my friends. And it was great. And we used to go, I mean, we were a bit kind of like nerdy back then as well. We'd go to these like gaming cafes and like spend hours there. And I think it was one of the things that me and my mates really kind of like bonded on as well. And we still do throughout the years because we were like, okay, if we were moving, we could like stay in touch through gaming, online gaming and stuff. So, and that was becoming a big thing back then as well. So yeah, it was great. It was just like these moments that just seemed detached from everything else, and they were just like free from stress, and you just do whatever you want.
So to recap, then you born in the UK here, had some difficulties, feeling different, but still, this was your life. Then you moved to Pakistan, had to deal with going through all of that kind of identity thing of being seen as the burger, the white kid, not speaking the language. You got to the point where you can actually speak the language fluently now. You had your circle. Things were going well. And then how was it to move back to the UK then as this kind of, what was your identity a lot firmer in, I'm Pakistani now?
I definitely felt like when I was moving, I was like, I'm Pakistani. I know who I am. But it was every summer, because my mum's mum, she lives in London. So every summer holidays, we'd come back to the UK anyway. So I was still kind of like connected, as in, obviously, compared to that first move, I'd come back to the UK every year. I kind of like, I knew things. I knew the areas. I just didn't feel that kind of like weird about it. I was like, okay, yeah, it's London. I know London. But yeah, I'm Pakistani and I know who I am. And let's see how that kind of like, how London accepts me. And we moved around the summertime, so we had the summer to kind of like adjust and everything. And then it's school, right? Because that at the time, at that age, that's the biggest thing, and that's when you're kind of like immersed into society, a bit more as a kid. So I started my A levels, and so so it's funny actually. I don't know if I should be saying this, but it's just funny to me. So I had a choice of two schools. There was like Ilford County, which is a grammar school, and it was all boys. And where like my uncle went there, and he was like, "Yeah, there's loads of Pakistanis, loads of Asian people, because it's grammar school. I guess to Pakistanis, that's important, right? That you go to a grammar school, it's like you'll have a better quality education, you'll have better chances in life or whatever.
No, I went to a grammar school, so
yeah, I do. So it's like that grammar school kind of like vibe. Or there was this school called Trinity Catholic High School. Both good schools. Obviously one's grammar school and one's like mixed co-ed kind of like, I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't thinking, oh, they're going to be more Pakistani people, but I could assume, I was like, okay, there's going to be more white people because it's a Catholic school and up to A levels. Well, just before A levels, it's for Catholic people. Mm-hmm. So A levels is where there's a mix of people. So I was like, oh, that'd be interesting. Why not? So I went with that. My parents advised against it. They were like, no, you should go to this grammar school. But I was like, Pakistani and then boys. I was like, I just can't be dealing with all boys, man. I was like, I need some like variation. And, I like talking to girls. So, but yeah, so I was like, yeah, let's go there. But in hindsight, maybe that was a bad move just because I don't know. It just pushed me into this environment where I had no idea about. And I was just naturally gravitating and I yearned for some Pakistaniness or brownness. I was like, it's just uncomfortable for me. It was the same feeling of when I moved to Pakistan, that the references I don't get, it's like British TV and stuff. Like, I don't know. I haven't been seeing this all. What was big back then? Like In-Betweeners or something. I had no idea about it then, but then obviously slowly get to know. But it's just like back then I don't know. And I was like, maybe that would have been easier being around Pakistanis who have some sort of like similar. I don't know. I mean, I'm saying that now in hindsight, it could have been the same. I would have been like, oh, maybe I should have gone to the other school. So yeah, there was a lot of white people, and I was like gravitating towards like any sort of difference. Someone who's not just classic, born and raised British, white, Catholic. I was like, there's some people who, have a slight, one grandfather is from like Spain or something. Even that, I was like, oh, I need some of that. But I did meet like a handful of people who I'm still in touch with now, and who like, had some mixtures in them, or like some sort of like ethnicity or some sort of differences. And I kind of I tried to bond with that. Like that was my only thing. That's the only thing I had going for me. I was like, oh, so tell me about yourself. Oh, we can bond on that. Because that's how you make friends, right? You bond on stuff. And we didn't know, nobody had anything in common. So yeah, sixth form was a tough time for me. Those 2 years, it was quite difficult because yeah, I just didn't have a friend circle that I was used to. And like, I really needed that. I had like 1 or 2 friends I'd hang out with, but yeah, it wasn't the same. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't like I was not doing that well. I wasn't depressed or anything. I was like, this is all right. Like, it'll take me some time. But then I realized how life could be when I was in uni. And I was like, oh, that's where I really came into my. I was like, oh, my people. Because that's the first time when there's so many different people. And it's the best environment to be around. Like, I mean, obviously, I don't know. And that's why nowadays I think like, why are people so afraid of like all these differences? Because they make you feel so comfortable. I mean, London is the best place to be because there's so many differences, so many different types of people. And it just feels like you can be whoever you want to be and you're comfortable and everyone will accept you. So yeah, it was great. Those uni years, and that's when obviously we met. And yeah, great time to be alive. And I still remember those years very fondly. Literally, I don't think I have a bad memory from that time.
Yeah. I mean, the irony of all of this is that how I met Humza was I'd kind of done the reverse culture shock. I grew up in a very white area and then moved to Queen Mary, which was so diverse. And I thought, okay, I need to make some Asian friends now because my course was mainly white. I looked and saw Pakistani boat party. So I signed up for it on my own. And I saw this guy, and you were more shaved at the time. We can flash up a photo. Yeah. And I thought, oh, this guy's probably mixed or just a white guy here as well. And I approached him thinking, he's Portuguese or something. And then it turns out that you were literally the most Pakistani person ever. But that broadened my perspectives as well. And I realized like Pakistani isn't just like, to give context, my family's Punjabi. So a lot of them are darker skinned. But then I realized like Pakistan doesn't, like Punjabi from this one area doesn't represent all of what Pakistan is. And you really helped me on that journey. And in our friendship group, there were Indians, Pakistanis, Mauritians, Arabs, English people. It was really, really diverse. So, how did that, I guess, in your identity kind of cement things? Do you still feel like you have to kind of choose between British and Pakistani, or what's the Humza today going through all of that?
Definitely. I mean, I just want to kind of like mention as well, Pakistani boat party. What a crazy concept. Because it's like, fresh up the boat, back on the boat. Anyway, I was like, so, I mean, I still get that all the time. It's like some people won't accept you unless you are like them, you know? And I get that. I mean, at work, I started out my career in the defense industry, which was very toxic, very, this white old people, basically. And unless you can relate to them, they are not going to have a conversation with you. They're not interested. So I had to kind of like put on a front, like, I wouldn't tell people that I live in Pakistan, or like I would just kind of like I wouldn't, they're interested. I'm born and raised here. I wouldn't say I speak any other languages. I'm just like this average guy who has a name that is slightly Arab. Extremely Arab. But to them, they were just like, it could be Spanish, could be anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to pick and choose. And because there's still that stigma around people who are different in this kind of like older generation, and it's kind of being passed on to this younger generation. Because I've mentioned it a couple of times, but there are a few people who I've met who have been like, oh yeah, but who are about people being different, or like people taking over the UK, or like bringing these differences, and they're just not happy about. But then they look at me, they're like, well, but you're okay. You're the nice type. I'm like, well, what does that mean? How am I different to anyone else? I'm just trying to kind of like practice my religion, being, embracing my culture in my own way. I'm not pushing it on anyone, and I don't think I see anyone doing that. So what are you talking about? That people are trying to like take over your value? You could do whatever you want. Just let us do whatever we want. So it was crazy. And then so I used to get that a lot. But you're okay. You're one of the nice ones because you've embraced being British. I'm like, but what do you define British? How am I embracing that? Because I'm speaking English to you. I speak English well enough, or I'm not in like Islamic outfit, or I have a massive beard, or like the topi or something, or like what do you? I don't mean, but they don't have any answer to that. They've just been drilled into their this idea that if they don't defend themselves, they're gonna be like overrun, or like this is gonna be an Islamic state or something, which is so crazy to me. And it kind of makes me think that they're just worried about what the British did to the rest of the world, right? I don't know. It's a weird thing, but even now I get the same. I need to kind of be two different people sometimes. With my Pakistani friends, I can be Pakistani, I can be whoever I want, but then with some people, obviously there's loads of nice people who just accept you for who you are, but then especially in this work environment, I feel there's loads of, you need to be like us to kind of do well. You need to go, a big culture. And when I was in the defense industry after work, like drinking, it's a big culture in any work environment, really. I think people bond and network over that, like it's big. But I don't drink. I have in my past, but it's not something I do now. And at times I wasn't doing it then either. Like it's not something that I wanted to do, and I wanted to have that choice. But I don't want to. I'll go to the pub with you, but I don't want to drink. And they're like, why? What? And then is that kind of like, I'm not going to accept you unless you're doing exactly what I do. You need to drink. Why do I need to do that? So there was a lot of that. There's a lot of that, and and it kind of like, it does impact you. Like I'm like, oh, should I be drinking? If I want to kind of do well in my career, should I be kind of like doing all these things that everyone else is doing? It was tough.
Yeah, it raises so many like separate talking points based on what you said, and I can relate to a lot of it as well. In that the things, I know you and know you've got a great ability to adapt to different types of people. And as much as you say you're Pakistani, I, as a half English person, I know your white side as well, and a lot of the banter that probably wouldn't be appropriate in different contexts, So I think a lot of this going on in your mind would have been quite confusing from both ends, right? Do you think as well, like, just both of us know that if we kind of go clean shaven, we might not look like the typical representation of what Pakistani in the UK looks like? Did you ever have those thought processes of if I shave now and don't really talk much about Pakistan, I'm passing and not really. How did that? play out.
Because we used to get that a lot. I remember in uni, we were talking about it earlier that, we'd just, we would get that all the time. Oh, you look Spanish or Portuguese, and then we'd play into it as well. Without the facial hair, we'd play into it, and it's upsetting that I think about it now that it was just easier. I didn't have to explain that, no, I'm Pakistani, but this and that. And I wasn't ready for the reaction either that people got from it. They just seemed like they were happier to know that I was some sort of European. So that much difference they can deal with. Anything more than that is like, oh, there's so many other things now that I want to kind of ask or probe and see how you are. Like, what kind of Muslim are you? And I guess, I wasn't ready for that kind of those conversations. So it was just easier. But yeah, the typical, because when you say typical, you use typical in like air quotes all the time. Because what does a typical Pakistani look like? I guess in London you have like the roadmen, or or there's like slinging something. There's that kind of stereotype around that. Who, to be honest, I feel whenever I've met someone with that kind of like vibe, who's a bit of a roadman, they've been like trying to fight hard against Pakistani culture because their parents are the ones who migrated, I don't know, around the 60s or 70s, 80s even. And they're from smaller villages in Pakistan, because you'll find that a lot, especially in London. The UK, the majority of people who migrated from Pakistan are from these smaller villages. You'll get the Mirpuris and from Jhelum and small areas. Yeah, the Punjabi, you get a lot of those. And their parents obviously have been through a lot of, I guess, a lot of kind of like racism, a lot of stereotyping. And, they've kind of like taught their kids that, if you're like this, if you're like the Pakistani, it's gonna be hard for you. And even though most of their parents can't speak a lot of English, the kids have kind of gone the other way. Oh, we don't want to speak Urdu. We can't speak Urdu. In fact, we don't even want to learn. Like, we want to be these kind of people. And I feel like those are the type of people who kind of then turn into roadmen, because they're still not accepted, So then they go into these kind of like, and they stick together in these like tribes almost. But you'll find that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it is a separate subculture that we've spoken on in other episodes of like the British, urban, Asian, which for them, a lot of them actually do speak about it as like, this is British Pakistani culture, is that kind of gangster image. But then I'm sure that, I know from being in Pakistan, you can spot them out from a mile away. You can see the skin fade. You can see the pouch and the hoodie, which I often wear sometimes as well, So like, you can identify easily in Pakistan, that person's different. So I think it does come from that insecurity of being labeled inherently as different in the UK, being labeled as Pakistani and Muslim and those kind of stereotypes. But then also saying that, maybe they're going to speak with some Punjabi slang and mix it all in like we do, but also knowing deep down we're not the same as our grandparents who came. If you go to Pakistan, it's very evident as well. So I feel like everyone's looking for some sort of tribe and acceptance. But what blew my mind is going to Pakistan and realizing that, whoa, they're not all they don't all have skin fades and have hoodies on. Like, it's a completely different look, and even just physically as well. Not everyone looks like the people from Jhelum or Mirpur. I mean, my family actually are from the Punjab. And as I said, a lot of them look quite different to me. So I had that insecurity of, I've always looked different to the Pakistanis. I'm the Gora, and I got teased for that a lot as a kid. But then I met you and some of our other friends, and I'm like, wait, actually, I do look like a lot of these guys. And in Pakistan, they're not going to question me at all. So how does that make you feel in terms of having such a solid and deep identity as a Pakistani, but then often being, I guess, associated with this completely different subset of British Asian culture?
You get that. I mean, my Pakistani family in Pakistan, that's redundant, but my Pakistani family, they who live there, especially my dad's side, they are the type of people who have never been outside of the country. They haven't seen much. All they'll see is through my Instagram stories or like, what they see on the news. So they don't know what to expect, to be honest. They don't really, I don't think, have an understanding of the skin fade or the roadman kind of like UK-ness. But what they think of the West is, I don't know, completely warped anyway. And then whenever I go back, I'm still like, the outsider, the foreigner and stuff. But then some of my mom's side or some cousins I have who have kind of gone out of the country and who have seen like different sides of things, have a better understanding of it. But yeah, it's always tough. You're always fighting for acceptance, and wherever you go, sometimes you're always going to feel a bit different. So even when I go back, I'm like, yeah, I'm not the same. I'm not exactly these guys. But then when I'm back here, I'm like, well, I'm not exactly the people around here. So it's just, yeah, it's a constant battle, man. But I think as I've got older, I'm okay with it. I'm like, I'm me, and I'm just gonna, accept it. And sometimes it comes from my own parents as well. So like I'll do, I'm a religious guy, I call myself Muslim, but I'll do some things. Like I remember I got my first tattoo, and my parents, they were, they were like, "How is this possible? Our son who's a Muslim, and this is just not right. And what will our family think?" Or and it's just like that concept, and they're more worried about what the family thinks, or like how am I going to be accepted in those kind of like circles. But like, they're not going to accept me regardless, so I might as well just be myself. And then if they're worth it, they will accept me. And if not, then I don't think I want to kind of like surround myself with people who are not happy with me just being myself. Because that's the thing. It was more like over here, because it's in the UK. I feel like more than religion, it's culture, especially with Pakistanis, right? It's like they kind of label it as Islam, but it's more of like Pakistani culture, which they just don't want to let go of, which is great. I mean, you should be holding into your traditions and stuff. What makes you, right? But it's okay to go, not against it, but find your own different path. Because there's this fear, especially my parents, that if I don't do exactly what they did, then something bad's going to happen. I'm not going to be accepted, or our culture will be lost or something. But me getting a tattoo or getting my ears pierced or something, it's not going to change me. I'm still going to be Muslim, but I don't know. I guess it's different interpretations for different people. But it's just, yeah, even the way you dress, kind of like my mom. I bought like this chain recently from Pakistan because I just thought it went with a lot of the looks, right? It's the hipster thing these days, right? But yeah, my mom saw it and she was like, "What is going on with my son?" He's like, "Oh, he's wearing a chain now." I don't know where this fear comes from, but I guess it is that it's fear of being different, or fear of not being accepted, or I don't know. There's loads of fears in Pakistanis, as you probably know.
Yeah, I mean, it's also kind of similar with like white British people here. They see difference. They see people who look different, speaking another language, different traditions. They have a fear to that. Then if they actually sat down with you, they're going to realize actually this guy is not some menacing threat to take over the UK. He's an educated guy who's contributing to society. But it is the fear, the narrative of fear on both sides makes people uncomfortable.
And that's where that statement comes from, that I don't know, but you're okay. Once you get to know anyone, they're all okay. There's going to be extremes on everywhere. There's going to be extreme people. But if that's the only thing you see, then obviously you're going to say, yeah, all Muslims are going to be like this. Obviously not. So then whenever I get, it kind of makes me happy sometimes, whenever I get that, but not you, you're okay. I'm like, yeah, but I want you to know that this is the majority of people. Majority of Muslims are going to be like me, just kind of like trying to get on with life, practicing religion, practicing, following your culture or whatever, and just interpreting it in a slightly different way to kind of like suit how your life is. We're not living in Pakistan anymore, but we're still Pakistani. So trying to kind of like balance that is quite different. And obviously you get a lot from your parents as Pakistanis that you need to be a certain way. But I mean, how much do they know as well? Every experience, every generation is going to be so different. Now I don't know what to call it, second or third generation or whatever. But, it's different. It's different to how my mum grew up. It's different to how my dad grew up. So it's going to be a bit different. And that's okay, right? But what did you, like, obviously, I don't know how much the viewers know, but, your background, half Pakistani, half English, right? And did your mom and dad try to kind of like, how would those conversations go? That what are we going to kind of like, decide on, when the things come up? Was there a bit of that, or is this like, whatever, you do you?
I think it was half, like literally. But in terms of, I was raised with a lot of consciousness, but at the same time, a lot of freedom. So I never felt like I had to pick, but it also was nice that I was never dissuaded from going on either side. So when I approached you, literally, that was not, I was never told I had to do it, but I was never told I didn't have to do it. But in terms of approaching any culture, and I had that with my white side as well, you know, going and taking more steps and going to a pub for the first time and that kind of, that vibe. It feels nicer when you're doing it without pressure.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I was coming and spending time with the people, not British Pakistanis, but Pakistanis born and raised there, and just learning that, wow, they look at us like we're crazy. They're asking me, why are you so backwards? Why are you doing this in the UK? And then, it's just those conversations really change everything.
That's funny that you kind of like mentioned that as well, because we were talking about it earlier that Pakistanis in Pakistan who are born and brought up, I mean, it varies a lot. Like if you're from Lahore or Karachi, you have a completely different, especially how much, I mean, there's a massive kind of class system in Pakistan. The amount of money you have really kind of like makes the decision for you of how your life's going to be. And it's like massive. There's just a massive kind of like difference in Pakistan. But Lahore, Karachi, people who have a little bit more money, who can kind of like, you know, travel outside the country are going to be so different to people who are born and raised in the UK. Because a lot of that, it's just people from here, I guess the older generation as well, again, like we said before, afraid of like losing that culture and or fitting in. So you kind of like get this kind of like weird mosh of like a personality that afraid to be Pakistani, but you don't want to lose that Pakistaniness. So I don't really know where I am and identity crisis. But people in Pakistan, a bit more well off, they're kind of like happy with what they're doing, but they're more arguably Western than a lot of people who are here, because they have that freedom to do what they want, and their parents aren't kind of like worried about them finding their identity or culture. So they're like, do whatever you want, and they're just like going crazy. I mean, we met loads of those type of people in uni, because they're the ones who have enough money to come abroad and like, you know, and study abroad. And so seeing that, I hadn't seen a lot of that when I was growing up in Pakistan. Because a lot of my friend circle didn't have a lot of money. I mean, we were classed as like middle class or low middle class or whatever. Even though nowadays that class doesn't exist. It's just like low or high, because there's such a difference. But I didn't grow up around a lot of money, and my parents never had a lot of money. And so seeing those people for the first time in uni, I was like, what? I hadn't even seen that side of Pakistan. And like, I'm jumping forward, like after meeting my wife, who has also kind of like a similar story as me, born in the UK, moved back to Pakistan, then came back here. Her friend circle in Karachi, she's from Karachi. And Karachi has a different kind of vibe. It is more fast. It's like it's faster paced. You see people with more money there, and it's just like the things that are happening is crazy. But her friend circle were more of like, you know, people with money. And like, I think generally in Lahore, it's people who, I wouldn't say uneducated, but people who don't have a profession per se. Maybe more businesses. Karachi's more educated personalities who have gone to uni, have professions. So obviously they have kids who, a lot of money, and there's like a solid financial background with a lot of those people, or who own like big corporations in Pakistan. And I saw that for the first time after I met my now wife, and that was another world completely as well. You know, whatever you want, you can get in Pakistan if you have a little bit of money. And I saw that there for the first time. And that is crazy. I don't know did you kind of like see that in Pakistan when you went?
Well, what's interesting is I always, because of the news and because of my Punjabi family, always was quite insecure about going back. Because in my mind, I thought I was going to stick out physically more than anything and just look different. I thought I was going to be whiter than everyone. And then I remember speaking to you, and obviously gratitude to you because you helped me plan my trip as well with drivers and whatnot. But I remember you said to me, oh, but you're European as well. They're going to love you.
Yeah.
And I thought, really? And then also my dad, who's white, but I guess some Italian origins, looks kind of Mediterranean-y.
Yeah, you know.
We both arrived there, and I don't think, unless we spoke, no one ever questioned that we weren't from there. And then I did realize, okay, like, especially being in Islamabad, I saw way more people that looked like me than I did the rest of my family.
Yeah.
And I turned on the TV and think, oh, look, it's me, you know, and it's me and my dad. And I guess that really was like quite bittersweet, because there's the nice part of, I'm accepted on how I look here, but then also history. Why are fairer skinned people favored? And that's a whole other separate conversation. But definitely the wealthy Pakistanis, like that you mentioned, who I met at the LSE and at the UN as well. It's just another world. So the whole vocal minority that you might see on the news actually doesn't it represents such a small percentage. If we're looking at Pakistan, maybe British Pakistanis, that represents a sizable community, but in Pakistan, like that's a blip. It's so layered with so many different languages. I mean, even just understanding about the Pathans, it's like, whoa, these people are blue-eyed, green-eyed. I saw blonde hair. I was up in Humza Valley. They've got their own languages, their own foods that I'd never heard of. And it's so much more profound than British Punjabis like me.
People think, I mean, because they have like a misconception of like Pakistanis. They just group Pakistanis of like, you're either like a roadman that we see over here, or
the Raj from Big Bang Theory.
Or the nerds.
You're either a super nerd, so you're either a Raj, you're either word that we can't say.
Let's say.
Or you're the roadman.
Or the roadman, But it's a massive country. Pakistan is it's a big country. It's bigger than the UK. So obviously there's going to be loads of variations, different people in the south, different people in the north, different people, all around. So and the thing is, I think, even me as a Pakistani, I haven't seen all of it. I've not even like, scratched the surface of it. I grew up in Lahore. I've been to Karachi a fair few times now, especially because of my wife, and Islamabad. But we were talking before, I've never been to a gaon, maybe once in my childhood for something or the other. But none of my whole family has been always from Lahore, from the inner city. So I've just never experienced that. And there's just so much. So you got to keep an open mind about these things.
And I mean, like, it's not like, for example, going to the north of the UK, because of, historically speaking, the amount of different populations of people that were in Pakistan, from the Greeks, the British, the Iranians, the Turks, Arabs, the Mongols as well. I mean, half of my family, they have like East Asian kind of eyes. It's going to the Lahore Museum blew my mind, because I saw so much like Buddhist history, Hindu history, Sikh history, Central Asian, kind of the Stan countries, Islamic art, all the British stuff, Queen Victoria statues. You see churches in Lahore. That I've always been told that, if a Christian would ever go to Pakistan, I'm sure there are like issues. I'm not going to say that, but there's over 500 churches in Pakistan, cathedrals, buildings, there's Urdu speaking Christian Pakistanis, Hindu Pakistanis, Sikh Pakistanis. It's just not simple. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. And Lahore has been, especially Lahore, is such a cultural kind of like hub in the Indian subcontinent, because before the partition, it was like the capital for a lot of these kind of like empires, right? The Mughal Empire, or the Sikhs were there at one point. As I said, there's that massive. Did you see the Sikh, I guess call it temple, right next to Bachai Mosque, which is so nice to see, like the Sikh temple and then Bachai Mosque right next to it. So it's just like a mixture of cultures, which is really nice. It's really nice to see, and obviously loads of churches as well. I mean, I guess a lot of them might even be brought because of the British that were there. But my dad went to what is this college called, or school, like St. Mary's, or there's loads of those. And where, there's like loads of nuns, and he was like, I had to kind of like go to like mass and stuff and do that.
In Pakistan?
Yeah, in Pakistan. So I think, people just don't know that. And it's not advertised anywhere, which is a shame. But that's why, whenever anyone does then question me, I like talking about it constantly. It's like, I'm not like that type of person, but this is majority of people. There's so much that you don't know and you don't get to see.
I remember even seeing about, like, is it called the Shidi community? Like the Pakistanis with African heritage. And obviously I've got African family. And I was watching some videos recently about these guys who look completely West African, but they're there speaking like Sindhi and Urdu. And then it just, what I've been told my whole life from family and the news and media, it's just not, like, maybe it paints only partially, like a small little part of this huge canvas. So
but I feel like, I don't know, I always keep saying that, things are getting better, things are changing and stuff, but I don't know, a lot of times it just, things happen that remind me that maybe not, maybe we have a long way to go.
Such as?
I don't like that, those conversations with people about, especially, I think in London you don't get it that much, but people outside London do still have that mindset of, if we don't stop immigration, the UK is going to be like an Islamic state. And I've had this is recent, I had this conversation with someone who was from Scotland, and the Scottish are generally a bit better when it comes to stuff like that in English. They're a bit more accepting, but I was really surprised to hear that. And I was like, and the person he was a perfectly nice person. It's not like he was evil. He was, I don't know, I don't want to call him racist or anything, but I was like, that is so out of pocket. That is such a crazy thing to say. And you actually believe that? And he's like, yeah, how, like, when I see stuff on the news and stuff, I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. Yeah, but I guess in London it's different. You don't find a lot of people with that mindset, or at least they're not vocal about it because of London being such a cultural kind of like mosh pot. But yeah, it kind of like sets me back a bit. But as I said before, as I get older, I'm just like comfortable being who I am, and it's nice to represent. I want to represent Pakistanis and do what I can. And in the industry that I'm in right now, there's not a lot of like. Obviously, loads of engineers everywhere, but Pakistani people in the space industry higher up, no, it's unheard of. You don't see any of this. It's just still a lot of like white old people.
But that's why I think it's just important to share stories like this and show that what you see on the TV is one part of it. But even I want to shout out to Jan Mohammed, who we've also done an episode with, and the link will be up there, who's from Afghanistan. But he's really integrated into the white community in Kent. And he has these conversations all the time with people where they ask him, oh, did you come on a dinghy? Did you do this? Did you do that? But instead of dealing it with like in a kind of confrontational way, he's shown love to them. And now all of those kind of people who were a bit hostile to him before, they're his best mates now, because it's like we're all guilty of looking at something on the screen, whether it's the Pakistani media that shows England or whatever in one way, or British media that shows Muslims in whatever way. We're all probably guilty to some extent of just not questioning it.
Yeah.
China's a big one. There's so much Chinese influence in Pakistan. I was shocked.
Yeah. It was, I think that happened kind of, Pakistan and China have always had like good, I don't know, I'd say good relationship. They've always been close. But I think last decade or so, they had this kind of business deal or something. Yeah. And you saw like an influx of Chinese people in Pakistan, and which was it was nice to see. I was like, oh, okay, cool, like different type of people. That's nice. And then a lot of them started, they obviously had to learn the language and stuff. So you see a lot of Chinese people speaking Urdu. And it was great to see.
But yeah, while traveling, I met the like huge tour buses full of Taiwanese and Chinese tourists. They're going all over the country. I saw the same group while we were in Humza. Then I saw them at the airport in Lahore. So, we were taking photos with each other. They liked the Asian clothes we were wearing. I saw tourists from Korea. I saw a lot of like Eastern European tourists as well, Malaysians. And all of that time I was just questioning, like, it's such a nice country to visit as a tourist because of the nature and the people and the food. And YouTube, I think, is gradually changing this, and hopefully here on Evolve as well. We don't just want to speak to Pakistanis in the UK. We want to go out more and have these conversations. Maybe we'll have a conversation one day in Pakistan as well, Humza.
That would be sick. Honestly, I am so down. That's why I was like, next time you go, you need to go when I go, so we can kind of like meet up. But you mentioned like tourists. I've been seeing loads of videos on YouTube about like, English people, American people, just Western people, white people coming to Pakistan and loving it. I think it's kind of like in these days to go to places like Pakistan and like tour the place, but which is nice to see. I like seeing those videos because it just paints everything in a nice place, and the whole video is just about misconceptions and stuff. And Pakistanis are so hospitable, man. They especially, more to white people than Pakistani people. If they know you're white, they are gonna be like, you don't even need to pay. Like, they are going to struggle financially. But when tourism comes, they don't need to pay. They are guests. They are a guest. So there's a lot of that kind of culture over there, which is nice to see. It's nice to see Pakistan painted in a nice light.
Yeah, that's the difference between just like legacy media, as they're calling it, and then going on YouTube and seeing that. I don't want to pretend that there aren't struggles there. There are challenges. You know, I saw a lot of things there that humbled me that I guess I wish I'd seen when I was younger, because it made me appreciate what I did have in the UK a lot more as well. Certain things. But at the same time, there was just so many good memories I had, so much like humanity from people I saw that I felt like thanks to meeting you, I would say that helped me realize this other side existed. But it's hard, not just for Pakistanis, but anyone who just sees media representations of any country. You know, it doesn't just have to be Pakistan. Let's think of other labels that we have, whether it's black, whether it's Muslim, whether it's Arab, whatever. Try and like look at people, like look at content of people actually there.
It's
who are less biased before you make your own opinion.
It's difficult to do that because, you know, when you don't meet a lot of different types of people. If you're from a remote place, like, you know, I guess that person I was mentioning before from Scotland is, you don't get to meet a lot of people, so you're gonna just make a decision on the people around you, and if they all have the same idea, you're gonna do the same. But I mean, nowadays that's not even a really excuse anymore because of how easy information is available. It's like, I understand, like, you know, even 30 years ago when the internet wasn't that big, you know, okay, it's hard to get information out there, but nowadays there's no excuse. So like, I feel kind of, you know, frustrated with people like, oh, you know, you got to spread, you know, good information about Pakistan. Like, it's not really my job anymore. Like, as I obviously, if the opportunity presents itself, I'm gonna like present myself as a you know, what Pakistanis are like. But again, you know, I shouldn't represent the whole country because there's so many different people, so you can't. So just educate yourself, please.
But I mean, I guess from the other side of it, I hear some Pakistanis, oh, gore log, this, da 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 da, and I'm thinking like, they'll say it to me, not realizing like half my family's white as well. And I guess it's the same because I know so many, like, if you just go on YouTube and the amount of white people in Pakistan now who are putting so much time and effort to show the good side. I don't want to like be bad to those people as well, you know? So I feel like we've all got a duty, whatever side you're on, to just be a bit more critical and go and see places yourself, go and speak to people like this, open conversations.
But I think where people go wrong is make a decision too quickly. I mean, I don't think you can ever kind of like make your mind up on how things are or how things exist in the world, because, and a part of like, it's one thing, you know, religion and me have like a weird kind of like relationship, but there's one thing in Islam that says that, you know, one of the most important things is just you are constantly learning. You're educating yourself. You need to constantly learn. So there's no way that you can for sure make your mind up about how something exists on this planet, because you're going to be learning constantly. So keep an open mind. You know, I think that's where people go wrong. They're too quick to make judgment, and I don't think you should ever feel like you have enough information to make a judgment, because you're always going to be learning.
Wow, what a beautiful message, I think, you know, to kind of wrap up on. Humza, it's been amazing to hear your experiences today and insight. Definitely extremely thought-provoking. Hopefully our viewers have also appreciated this and taken something from it. Before we wrap up today, are there any final thoughts or messages you have for people?
Thanks everyone for watching. बहुत शुक्रिया. मुझे उम्मीद है कि ये पॉडकास्ट आपको पसंद आएगा. If so, then like, subscribe, and do all those fancy things with social media to get this out there.